7 steps to making sure you're setting up your Etsy shop for success. And I guarantee most of us have skipped number 6 and are probably still skipping it even as seasoned sellers. Hi, I'm Simply Shauna, and I have made over $400,000 profit on Etsy over the last 3 years. My biggest year so far being $160,000 profit in just 1 year. And in today's video, some of these tips are things that I had to learn the hard way and the long way. So hopefully I'll be able to fast track your success and you won't make the same mistakes I have. Number 1, think about setting yourself up an LLC. Now, this is not something that I did right from the beginning. I am a big believer in taking action. So if this step is really going to slow you down, and let's say you're ready to open your Etsy shop tomorrow, but setting up an LLC first is going to make you drag your feet for the next 2 or 3 months because it seems a little bit out there. You're going to have to go watch totally different content to figure out how to do that. Okay, fine. Just set up your Etsy shop. That's the most important thing. You can always revisit this later, which is what I did. I revisited this later. Forming an LLC gives you limited liability protection. It's going to help you when it comes to tax time and with tax flexibilities, keeping all of your business assets kind of in one place there. It's also going to make it possible for you to get a line of credit and actually build a line of credit under this business entity. So essentially, you'll have your own personal line of credit, but then you can also build this other line of credit through your business. Now, this is something I did not take action on right away. Again, that would have slowed me down at the time, so I'm glad that I didn't get myself slowed down. I do wish that I had kind of jumped on some of these things earlier. So with the LLC, my sister-in-law was actually the one that said, hey, Shauna, I can set this up for you. I'm going to do it for you. Otherwise, I really think it would have kind of been out here. But it's actually not that hard. Now, she set it up for me because it's kind of what she does for a living. But you don't have to go pay any big bucks to have this done. You can do it yourself. You're going to have to watch a separate video for that. I'm not going to be able to walk you through that, but you could probably get it done in less than 45 minutes. Now, I am not a CPA and I am not an attorney, so I really can't give you any advice about the best plan for you and the best way for you to set this up. So if it makes you feel better, you might want to talk to a CPA. I personally kind of just dove in. I went for it. You will get something called an EIN number, which is kind of like a social security card number for your business. So when you go to do your taxes or anything like that, you're going to give your CPA that EIN number so that your taxes can be filed underneath that LLC for the Etsy business part of your income. Once you have your LLC set up, you're going to wind up getting stuff in the mail about opening a credit card under it. And so you can choose to start building a line of credit underneath that LLC if you'd like. Now, this really leads me into step 2, which is keep your Etsy finances separate from your personal finances. Now, the idea of creating an LLC kind of has this concept in mind so that you're not commingling and you're keeping everything separate. Even though my sister-in-law made it super easy for me, shout out to Danielle if she happens to be watching this video, by creating my LLC, I still did not keep my finances super separate. They have been commingled and it's really messy. And so at this point, I am trying to detangle that. And here I am over 4 years later and detangling that. And hey, I'm not complaining at where I'm at. If it was going to slow me down to set it up properly in the beginning, then I'm glad I just made moves and I went for it. But knowing now that it really would have taken me 3 hours to sit down and really get everything separate from the get-go, that would have been great. It would have made taxes way easier for me the last couple of years. I'm doing this video in early April, so I'm stressing about taxes at the moment, but I'm going to get myself set up for success for next year. So we don't want to commingle our Etsy business stuff with our personal stuff because it becomes a nightmare once you start making money to separate these things. I have to pay extra to my CPA because he's got to go through all kinds of transactions on different credit cards that have my personal use mixed up with my business use. And so he's got to go in there and separate everything. So what do I wish I had done and what am I trying to do now? Well, my Etsy payouts go to my personal account. I'm going to go to the bank this week and I am getting an account at my bank under my business name. I'm going to bring my EIN number with me, and I'm going to get that all set up so that I have a separate bank account. And then I'm going to have to go into Etsy and make sure I properly set all of that up with Etsy. I wish I'd done that from the get-go because I always get nervous when I'm making big changes with my Etsy shop. As we know, that sometimes something weird can be triggered in the algorithm, but I really need to get this separated, so I am going to do that. Next, I have 2 credit cards, one that I have attached to Printful and one that I have attached to Printify. And these 2 credit cards are able to help me keep track of how much I'm spending with each of those print-on-demand companies. And at least I've been smart enough not to really use those credit cards for anything else. That really helps me balance my numbers because I like to balance them weekly. I keep an old school journal here on my work desk, and every Tuesday when Etsy pays me out to my personal account, I grab that number and I put it in my little notebook here. Then I go into each of my credit cards. I'll link all the credit cards that I personally like to use down in the description in case you're looking to see which credit card you'd like to use. I am a traveler, so I have chosen credit cards that give me nice rewards, especially when it comes to traveling. After I write my Etsy payout on that Tuesday, I go in, I grab those numbers from each of those credit cards, I do a little subtraction problem, and then I know how much profit I made for the week. So I suggest keeping track of what's happening week to week rather than trying to balance what's happening once a month, because sometimes what will happen, I have a coaching program, a membership, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me through the membership where they're like, Shauna, I just did my numbers for the month. Help me, please. I don't understand what's happening. And then I'm trying to help them going through all these numbers with them. And I'm like, okay, moving forward, let's keep track of what's happening week to week, because then you can reset your sales and you can figure out what's happening that week so that you are not losing money. And usually for me, when I'm losing money, it's because I either had my ads go out of control because I wasn't watching them, or I had some break-even pricing items start selling. I'll leave a video linked about that up above. I'm not going to go into that right now. And I don't realize it, and then that's blowing up my profit because I didn't raise the prices on that break-even pricing listing that starts blowing up. When you're keeping track weekly, that really helps you keep a kind of a finger on the pulse of what's happening in your shop instead of trying to figure it out at the end of the month. And part of the trick of being able to do that is to really keep things separated. So at least I've kept those 2 credit cards separated. I know what's happening with Printful. I know what's happening with Printify. I can grab my number from my personal account where my Etsy payout went and pay these things and kind of know where I'm at. All my subscriptions, like my Everbee subscription and my Kittle subscription, all of those kinds of subscriptions are on my credit card that gets commingled with all of my regular spending. So I'm going to have to move all of those things over to have them in one place. I'd like it to really be on a separate credit card or in a separate place because I really like to have it separated out exactly what my product is costing me for the month, and then maybe have a separate place for those subscriptions. But you can do it however you want. I have not yet opened a credit card under my LLC for my business, and so I haven't really started to build a line of credit through that, which is something that I'd also like to do this year. So those are some topics. Again, I'm not a CPA and I'm not an attorney, so I can't give you advice on your specific situation, but I can share with you kind of where I'm at, how I've gotten here, and now what I'm trying to do to really run my business the best way possible. Now, however you decide to keep track of your profits, I do suggest you have some kind of system in place. You are a business owner. Once you open your Etsy shop, maybe you've never been a business owner before. I hadn't. I was never a business owner. I had never been a business owner before I opened my Etsy shop before. So we're new to this, right? But we're legit business owners after we open our Etsy shops, and we need to treat that business as such. We should know our bottom line. We should know what our profits are. And if you're not profitable for the first 2 or 3 months because you're listing, it only costs 20 cents per listing on Etsy. But if you're anything like me, I was pumping out maybe 30, 40 listings a week when I started, and it takes time to start getting sales. So maybe you are spending a little bit of money in the beginning. And I do mean little because there aren't many businesses where we can spend as little as we can when we're opening an Etsy shop. You're spending 20 cents per listing to put your listings out, and then you are spending whatever it is on your softwares that you're investing in. So you obviously need software to design with. So maybe you have Kittl, or maybe you have Canva, maybe you have GoDaddy Studios, and then maybe you've invested in something like Everbee or eRank. I didn't do that right away. It wasn't until later in my journey that I started investing in research tools to help me. But maybe that's something you're investing in. So really, you could invest in this for under $100 when you first get started, and then you've got your 20-cent listing fee. So we don't have to invest a lot in our Etsy shops when we get started, but we do want to know our bottom line. And maybe for the first 2 or 3 months, we're not profitable. But after that, if we're listing enough and we are trying to get good at the market research while we're listing, we should start to at least break even or become at least a little bit profitable and be able to grow it from there if we're using the right strategies, which if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I love to talk about strategies on this channel that will help you get your shop profitable. Number 3, know your market and shop your competition. Okay, you've got your LLC set up. Maybe don't let this step slow you down. Just have it in your back of your mind. And then you've got your business finances separated. That's a little easier to do. Even if you're still using your own personal bank account, at least use one of your credit cards and don't stop using it for anything else, right? So even if you don't take the time to do these things properly, have them in the back of your mind and try to at least, keep it as separate as possible. Now your Etsy shop is open and you're ready to hit the floor running. You need to know your market and shop your competition. So that means you're going to be looking into your niches. Maybe you have a couple of niches that you're interested in designing in. I do suggest starting with places where you actually have interest in, where you actually would be possibly a customer in that niche. When I got started, I started with ants because I had become an ant within a couple of years of the time of opening my Etsy shop. I was doing grandma stuff since I was thinking about my mom becoming a grandma, so I had an interest there. I was doing Jeep Girl stuff, which was not good. I had to take all that out. Don't do that. That's trademarked. And I was doing teacher stuff. These were all actual things that I was interested in. And so those were the niches that I first went after. The only way that you're going to be able to have a hope to be able to sell something in the niches that you're creating in is to make sure that you're adding something to the market that is new, that is valuable in some way. So that could be a plethora of different ways, right? Well, at least for myself, I'm in several different niches, which is super helpful for me because when I am studying the market in the teacher niche, and then I'm going over to, let's say, the ant niche, and I'm like, ooh, this is selling really well in the teacher niche. No one's doing it over in the ant niche yet. This is actually what has led me to the majority of my sales across different niches. I noticed something that is interesting in one niche, but isn't being done in another niche. Oh, I see a lot of comfort colors being sold in this niche. I don't see as many in this other niche. Let me try offering that in moving forward in a bunch of my listings, and let's see what happens. Oh, I see this certain design aesthetic in the bachelorette niche. This doodle design aesthetic is just really cooking up and getting popular. Let me take that and pull it over to the ant niche or to the teacher niche. Because if people in the bachelorette niche are liking this doodle aesthetic, you will have other niches that people will like it in. And don't think for 1 second, just because no one's doing it just yet, that means that no one likes it. It means you might have identified it early and you might be one of the first people bringing it over and testing it out in this other niche. And don't think that you could just test something out once or twice and say, oh, well, I tried to doodle design, so I guess it doesn't work in this niche. Oh, no, that's not how it works. You have to test something numerous times, but you want to have a reason for testing it. So in the examples I gave, the reason you'd have for testing it, you're shopping the market, you're knowing the market, you're shopping your competition, you've noticed something over in the bachelorette niche, and that's why it's worthy of trying somewhere else. Now, if you notice something in the bachelorette niche and you only ever want to try it again in the bachelorette niche, well, you might wind up recreating what people have already been adding to the market, which will get you nowhere. It'll take you a long time to get nowhere. You'll notice after a lot of work that, hey, why isn't this working for me when it was working for everyone else? Well, everyone else was doing it before you. So you want to take that thing that you noticed in the market as you were shopping your competition and pull it over and use it somewhere else. I know this is something that a lot of people are interested in and wanting to talk about because I have a series of videos completely for free right here on YouTube. I'll leave the playlist link down below, and they are my best performing videos on YouTube, which tells me that people are hungry and thirsty for this information and are desiring to, consume content about it so they can learn it. And not only that, over in the membership, people are constantly asking me when we do lives, we do a live every week, people are constantly asking, hey, can we talk more about this? Can you show us how to add value to the market in this niche or in that niche? And so we wind up doing a lot of content around that. And rightfully so that people are asking for this kind of content, because this is the number one thing that really helps me get sales. Understanding what it means to shop the competition, what it means to add value to the market. And number 4, get ready to make many decisions. I think that this is something that people aren't always prepared for when they open their Etsy shop. Sometimes it's really easy to get bogged down with decision making. That is what fatigues us. It's decision fatigue. It is what can have us giving up when we are starting something new, starting something unknown, starting something that we're unsure of. You are going to have to make so many decisions. Starting from when you're first sitting down to open your Etsy shop, I can bet you $1 million. If you've already done this, you're going to be shaking your head yes out there. And if you haven't done this yet, these words are going to float back to your ears and you'll be like, oh yeah, Shauna knew what she was talking about. One of the first moments where you're going to hit friction and decision fatigue is while you're opening your Etsy shop and you have to come up with a name for your Etsy shop. Just come up with the name. You're allowed to change the name once, really, really easily. After that, you'll have to jump through more hoops. Now, I did come up with my name originally. I wound up not liking it. Like a month later, I changed it, and I've had that name ever since. You don't want to get stopped in your tracks, though, and not just continually taking action. So make the decision and go. Listen, you can't get caught up with wanting to make the perfect decision every time. Get over it. You're not going to make the perfect decision every time. You're going to make mistakes. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be able to get through this process and make the perfect decision every time. I can definitely attest to that. I didn't create an LLC right away. I didn't pick the right name for my shop the first time. I did commingle all of the Etsy money with my personal stuff, which I'm still sorting out. But hey, I'm making money while I'm sorting it out. So it's not like I'm sitting over here boo-hooing about it. I'm glad I made the decisions. I'm glad I took action. I'm glad I listened to a video like this. It's not that I magically knew to do these things. I listened to videos like this that said, hey, this is what you need to do if you want to be a business owner. Put on your big girl panties and make decisions. So that's what I did. So that's what you're going to need to do now. You need to be able to make decisions so that you can take action and you can get to the next place in your business. And I want to let you know it's totally normal that you're getting this decision fatigue. It's difficult to not know if you're making the right decision. But the worst decision you can make is to not make a decision and to not take action, because then you definitely missed out. You definitely aren't going anywhere. The more decisions you make, yes, the more mistakes you're going to make. But the more mistakes you make, the more opportunities you have to learn. That's the only way that we're going to get any movement forward, by just progressing forward, making the decisions, and learning from any mistakes that we are making along the way. So it's totally normal that as you start your market research and you are trying to add value to the market, you're doing your market research, you're searching the competition, you're going to feel so like a fish out of water when you get started with this. You are absolutely going to feel so unsure of whether or not you're making the right decision when it comes to design elements that you're using, what products you're choosing, what pricing strategies you're using. During that entire journey, you are going to feel like you are not making the right decision. How do I know I'm making the right decision? This is completely normal. And then there's going to be times where you make a decision, you saw that doodle design happening over in the bachelorette niche and you pulled it over the teacher niche and you don't see any traction happening on it. And then you're like, oh no, I didn't do the right thing. Then you have to ask yourself, well, did I try it enough times to make that decision? And if you have tried a couple batches of designs, let's say you've done numerous doodle designs, and you're like, oh, it's still not working. Okay, then maybe the doodle look isn't working in the teacher niche. FYI, that's not a good example because I happen to know that doodle look does do well in teacher niche, so don't think that that was a hint or anything. And then you just redirect and you make new decisions moving forward. And just know that you're on the same road that I was on and seeing the same road signs that I saw on my way to getting successful, because this is the exact journey that I had to walk also. Number 5, choose mock-ups based on research. Get trendy mock-ups. Okay, so this one kind of piggybacks off of doing your market research and shopping your competition. You want to make sure that you're choosing mock-ups that are the mock-ups that other best-selling designs are on. So this doesn't matter what product you're doing. You want to make sure you're using mock-ups that have either been used and you see lots of bestsellers on those same mock-ups. That's going to take a little work. You have to go do some bestseller searches on Etsy, collect a bunch of bestsellers, and then go search out where those mock-ups are getting sold. Where what mock-up shops did they, were these mock-ups purchased at? Because these mock-ups, if you're seeing best-selling designs repeatedly on those same mock-ups, now those designs are good because they're bestsellers. So people like those designs, but the mock-ups are helping to sell those designs when we're repeatedly seeing the same mock-ups. Now, that isn't to say you can't experiment. And maybe you notice you're like, oh man, this pepper black comfort colors mock-up with the girl sitting in the chair. It's very popular. I'll splash an example up on the screen for you of a bestseller on this mock-up. Hey, I noticed that this is all over the place. This mock-up is all over the place, so I want to get this mock-up for myself. But maybe you're also thinking, well, I'm not going to stand out in search results because too many people already have this mock-up. Well, first of all, your design is the thing that should be standing out in search results. And that's going to go back to that market research piece and learning how to add value to the market. And you'll get better with that over time. In the beginning, you'll feel like a fish out of the water. But with your mock-ups, if you're feeling like, well, I think my design is not a recreation of anyone else's design. By recreation, I mean you just got a couple of little changes, just a little different. You don't want to do that. It's not going to help you stand out. So maybe you feel like you're nailing the design part, but you also want to stand out with the mock-up you're choosing to use. You can do that also, but I do feel that this is a more advanced skill or strategy. I think in the beginning, you're going to be much, much better off going with tried and true mock-ups that we know are helping sell people's designs. And keep your eye open for new ones that are popping up, because then you could be one of the first people to go invest in those new mock-ups, from time to time. I don't invest in new mock-ups too often, but from time to time I'll see something new pop up and go, oh, I'm going to start using that one. I see this is like a new thing that's popping up, and obviously it's helping sell these designs. So an example of this more advanced skill was that I had noticed in one of the niches I was working in that there were a lot of the same black, pepper black, ivory, like those were the majority of the colors that were in search results for the bestsellers. And then from those colors, there was like 2 or 3 mock-ups that were being repeated quite a bit. And I have those mock-ups, but I thought, I'm curious what could happen if I do a test. Maybe I will do an A/B test and list my design twice. I'll do it on the black, but I'll also do it on a color I see not being used too much. So I had noticed that there were 2 bestsellers that were on purple. And this was a niche that just made sense, a sub-niche of this niche that just made sense that maybe purple would be a fun way to stand out. And so I decided to invest in a new mock-up that really was based off of the type of position that the girl was going to be sitting in, or the type of way that the shirt was going to be laid out in the flat lay. I made sure that it was a trendy look, and I did invest in a purple because I thought it would help me stand out in search results. And that can be a very effective strategy. But again, I do think that this is a more advanced skill, and that if you are truly a beginner, you might want to save that for testing a bit later. I'll throw it out at you now that yes, that is still a good strategy. It's just a little bit more advanced. Number 6, pay attention to the Etsy filters. And this is one that I think that as a newbie, you wouldn't know to do. And I think even as seasoned sellers, we often don't put enough importance on this and don't do it often enough. If you go to your search results on Etsy, you will notice at the top left, there is a little button that says filters. When you bring those filters over, you're going to notice certain things that Etsy has made it possible for customers to filter by. So I'm going to bring up some of the ones that I think that as print-on-demand Etsy sellers, we would want to, they'd be applicable to us, ones that we could be using in our advantage. Keep in mind that if Etsy is putting these filters, Etsy isn't doing anything without a lot of research behind it. If Etsy is taking up this valuable real estate on their website with these filters, it is for a reason. It is because people are wanting to filter by that. Etsy is gathering all that data, they're scraping all that data of what people are searching, and they understand that these are things people are interested in. So one of the first ones that we're going to pay attention to is where it says special offers. People can filter by free shipping, on sale, and personalizable. So that means that Etsy is putting importance on these three types of filters because people want to filter by this. And so this might be something you don't want to ignore, because if someone does filter by one of these and you don't apply, your listings don't apply to that filter, then you are not even going to show up in search results at all for all of those customers that are filtering that way. So let's talk real quick about free shipping. This is one that I think is interesting. I have always done free shipping in my shop for this reason. When I first got started, that's the advice I'd gotten. But I know a lot of big, very successful shops, a lot of shops that are newer, that are gaining traction. They do not do free shipping. They are charging for shipping. This has got its own multitude of benefits, such as coming up cheaper in search results because the shipping isn't getting tacked on until after they get into your listing. And so, there's a lot of reasons why you might want to do separate shipping. Now, I was curious in my own shop, am I leaving a lot of sales on the table? Again, I would show up in the filter because I do offer free shipping on most of my listings. But as I was doing research, because again, going back up to one of our earlier points, know your market and shop the competition. When I'm doing that and I'm noticing what other people are doing, I made a list of 20 shops in the last year that were doing really well. And when I filtered through all of that data that I was collecting, it was something like 16 of them or something like that were actually charging for shipping. So they would not show up with this filter either. And that led me thinking, well, geez, if a lot of successful people are charging separate for shipping, maybe I'm making a mistake by not doing that. Maybe my shop could be doing even better if I was charging separate for shipping. Now, I'm going to do an entire video on what I'm about to share with you, but I will share something very interesting with you here as a little spoiler in this video. I decided to do an A/B test with free shipping versus paid shipping. And so I set out. It's right now, I believe I have 157 listings that I'm testing. All of them are exactly the same. The only thing that's different is the fact that one is free shipping and one has shipping added after you click into the listing. So the data is not showing at all what I thought it was going to show. I thought that the listings that had separate shipping, where people had to pay for shipping, I thought they'd be doing wildly better. But I just pulled the data for you right now, because it's interesting and it goes along with this filter that Etsy gives us, where you'd be filtered out if you're making people pay for shipping. If they click on special offers and they filter by free shipping, you're no longer going to be in search results for them. So this is what I thought was interesting. With these new listings that I'm testing, for the ones that are charging separate for shipping, I counted up all the visits on all 160 of these listings, and I have a total of 573 visits when added up across the board, all the listings. And those 573 visits have led to 36 sales versus the ones that are free shipping. So these would still be seen in search results when someone goes over to the Etsy filters and wants to search and just see free shipping. These listings have received a total of 1,088 visits. So that's about double the visits These are all the same exact design, same exact mock-up, same exact SEO. The only difference is whether or not I was charging for shipping. So the ones that are going out with free shipping got almost twice as many visits. Those 1,088 visits led to 86 sales. So a little over double from the separate shipping charged listings. Now listen, if you're a seasoned seller and you are like, oh my God, I gotta go change my entire shop, do this experiment for yourself before you make any big changes in your shop, please. Just know that there's other factors at play here. I don't know, maybe because my shop has been free shipping for a long time, maybe there's something with the algorithm that's happening, that because those listings are different from all the others and it's something new in my shop, maybe, there's something the algorithm is doing that plays into it. I don't know, but there could be some other things happening there. So I would do this test for yourself. I'm just sharing for you these interesting results. They are not what I thought they would be. I thought 100% I was going to be switching my entire shop to charging for shipping, but the results are not leading me in that direction at this time. And as I was putting this video together, I thought, let's share this because this is super interesting, because you would not be in search results for anyone that is filtering for free shipping. Next up in that special offers is on sale. Are you running a sale in your shop? I usually am. You could dig into a little bit more information about running sales in your shop and how you'd want to structure that and how you'd want to go about that. But Etsy allows people to filter so that they're only looking for shops that are running a sale. That does not mean you have to take a loss on your products. Price appropriately so that you can run sales. I've got a video on that. I'll leave it linked down below. The next filter is personalizable. So Etsy is a marketplace known for being able to personalize special gifts for people, right? So this is something that is a big draw for customers coming to the Etsy platform. If you are not making the sales you want to make, I really can't suggest highly enough to add some personalized items to your shop, to start putting that into the mix, into your niches. There is a section in your listing when you're setting your listing up where you can toggle the personalization on that listing. So let's say you're doing teacher shirts and you're going to personalize the teacher shirt with the teacher's name. You would want to toggle that personalization toggle on, and that way Etsy knows, hey, let's put this listing in search results when someone filters by this. I also like to use words like personalized and custom in my SEO. That is your search engine optimization phrases, and those phrases go in your title and in your tags. It's how Etsy is matching your listing with potential buyers, and they're doing that also with these filters that they are making available to the buyers. One of the next filters here that I wanted to mention, it says Etsy's best, and it says Etsy's picks and star sellers. Now you don't have a whole lot of control on whether or not one of your listings winds up being picked by Etsy for an Etsy's pick, but we can do our best to be a star seller. I have lost my star seller badge a couple of times, and then it's been important to me, though, to work my way back up there. So a lot of times, like in December, you'll get a lot of orders and maybe something happened with shipping or something happened with message response rates or something like this. And then the star seller badge is based off of the last 3 months. So certain criteria that you have to have, like messaging people back within 24 hours, making sure that you are meeting your shipping promises that you've set up in your shop with your shipping settings, and getting good reviews. So you need to keep the average on your reviews. I think it's a 4.8. So these are the things you're looking at, and don't feel like you can't dig yourself out of a hole with your star seller badge. It's only the last 3 months of data. So if you really had a bad month where something happened and you weren't responding to people, or something happened and your everything went out late, or something like this, you can come back from this. So make the plans that you need to make, whether it be setting up your auto reply to help you, or setting up your shipping times to be a little bit later, whatever it is, work your way back up to your star seller badge because people can filter for that. And that is something that we're in control of. Now, I didn't feel that when I lost my star seller badge, I didn't see sales plummet or anything like that, but it is usually when it's happened at the beginning of the year. And so sales are low at that time anyways. I expect sales to be low during January, February, and March. And I expect them because of the niches that I'm in to build back up over time. One of those niches is the teacher niche. I'm not going to go deeply into that right now, but that is something that could help you build your summer up. I do have an entire teacher calendar and resource. It comes with a 90-minute video. It comes with a schedule of what you should be listing and when you should be listing it, and all of the sub niches within the larger, broad teacher niche. Really, I shouldn't call it just teacher. It's really school niche, and that I'm really building out in that resource. Really have you equipped to making things for room moms, and it brings your attention to the types of things that you can make for students and other staff at school. And this has been a huge moneymaker for me. It's responsible for what got me from making pennies to making thousands per month, and that happened during the month of September and August is where I bumped up to $2,500 and then $4,500 profit my very first year, and it was the teacher niche that did that for me. If you purchase that calendar resource by June 1st, I'm going to be holding a special session that you'll be invited to, and it'll be a session where we get to talk, and I get to hear how it's going. You can ask me questions, and we could dig deeply into the teacher niche, and I can answer any questions for you. So if you want to be invited to that, I will leave that link down below. And if you've purchased it in the past, check your email because I've already sent it out to you. It is the updated resource, and so you don't need to buy it again. You already bought it, and I already sent it back out to you with the updates and the video. The next filter we're going to look at is clothing style. I would love to know what you guys think about this. I don't have the exact right answer for you. This is something you could choose when you are in your listing. You get to pick one of these. And you can see here clothing style you could choose from boho and hippie, minimalist, streetwear, athletic, gothic, harajuku, which I'm not sure what that is, lolita, menswear, military, pinup and rockabilly, preppy, rave, rocker, steampunk, Victorian, Western, and cowboy. So what I've been doing is I a lot of times will go with boho and hippie. If there's like a rainbow or like a peace sign or like a retro look to it, which has been really popular, right? And then sometimes I'll go with Western and cowboy if it's got like cowgirl boots or some kind of Western anything looking on it. And then everything else I've done gets streetwear. I don't know what the exact right thing is here. I don't know what most people are filtering by, but this isn't something that we want to skip. We do want to go ahead and choose one of these when we're in our listing. And actually just above that is estimated delivery. Don't worry about this. You can only do what you can do. This is up to our print-on-demand companies. We have to put what we can safely get it to them as. So all of us with print on demand are in the same boat. If you're printing up your own shirts, you might be at an advantage here because you might be able to have things arrive a bit faster than the rest of us. And then I won't go through all of the others because they're basically just attributes that you get to include in your listing as you are creating your listing. As you get further down on that list, it would be my assumption or my guess that fewer people are actually going down other than maybe holiday. I kind of doubt that people are often going in there to filter by that. With occasion and holiday, don't be checking them off on your listing if they don't actually make a good match for your listing. But they are great niche ideas. So if you see something in there for a holiday, might want to think about making things for that holiday because that's a way to cash in on some extra sales. Imagine the filters that Etsy is putting up toward the top are the most pertinent and the ones that people are using the most. We're getting to number 7, but just to recap real quick, so far our 7 beginner steps to setting up your Etsy shop that you don't want to forget. You want to have these top of mind. 1, consider opening an LLC. 2, separate your finances. It's a mess for me. Hopefully you'll get that figured out faster than I did. 3, know your market and shop your competition. 4, get ready to make many decisions. 5, get well-researched on-trend mock-ups to put your designs on. 6, pay attention to those Etsy filters. And We're going to get into 7 right now. But before we do, if you are enjoying this content, if you wouldn't mind just taking a quick second to hit that like button, that'll do a lot for this video. It lets me know that you're liking content like this. I'm constantly looking at the videos to see how many likes I have. So super appreciated if you made it this far in the video, if you wouldn't mind doing that. Now, number 7, and this one might seem overly simple, but I'm going to say it. Go live with your listings. Open the shop. List in it consistently and regularly. Just start. Because a lot of times I feel like people are listening to content about this for weeks, months, or even years before they start taking action. It took me one video, and the very next day, I didn't have the bandwidth that night to do it, but the very next day, I opened my shop. Now, the video I was listening to didn't explain to me how to open my shop. I had to go look up another video on that. But the video I was listening to made me understand the kind of money someone who's not even a business person could make. I understood all of a sudden that there's this whole world of money making out there that I was not a part of, and that it sounded doable. And if you don't think this is doable for you, let me tell you that it is. I was a 4th grade school teacher making $50,000 a year. I did not own my own business. I had never designed a t-shirt prior to this. I was creative in different ways. I knew how to do a lesson plan that kids liked, that they were interested in, and keep their attention. I had no idea how to make a t-shirt that people would want to buy though. So it was completely new. It was completely foreign. If I can do it and get myself to a place of making $160,000 profit over 3 times what I was making as a school teacher, then I swear to you, you can do it too. If you've gotten this far in the video, then you're serious about this. You've either already opened your shop and you're working on it, or you are really thinking about it. So the very next critical thing that you need to be watching, listening to, and learning about is how to add value to the market. I'm going to link up this video here where I show you how I would add value to the nurse niche. Even if you're not in the nurse niche, it's a great video to watch because you could take the ideas and fuse them into another niche. Because I'm showing you in that nurse niche add value to the market video how I'm getting ideas from another niche, bringing it into the nurse niche. A bunch of people on YouTube are going to be watching that video and they're going to be infusing those ideas into the nurse niche, but you could take them and infuse them into another niche that you're working in. I hope you enjoy it, and it helps you get lots of sales, and it helps you with that decision fatigue that we certainly all have to deal with when we are opening our Etsy shops or moving through the process with our Etsy shops. So watch it next, but of course not until after that tip from Tucker. Tucker, take it away.